All right, just to confirm for my listeners who we have on the phone here, it is the Marvellous Cain. Is it you, sir?
How you doing? How you doing, people?
You know what? And I got to say, when I was looking up your name, like I think 50 different names for you came up. We had Marvellous Cain, aka DJ Cain, aka Cain, aka. What is the actual, I guess, avatar, or what is the name you go by? Is it Marvellous?
Marvellous Cain.
Okay, awesome.
Straight. The others were done back years ago because of being signed to a record label, to Suburban Bass. So I could only use Marvellous Cain for Suburban Bass tunes. So we had pseudonyms.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, and you know what? You hear that with a lot of other guys. Most popular, you got Dillinger, Capone, basically for your title rights to the name, having to release under different labels, right? So, you know, we are familiar with what you're talking of. With that, you before we spoke, you said you were going to fire something up for dinner. What are you having for dinner tonight?
Oh, listen, I am just cooking a Jamaican patty, a jerk chicken patty. I'm starving. I've just driven all the way to East London, done a 2-hour radio show, driven 2 hours back here now, ready for this interview.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No.
We're going to start off some fun ones. The first question I've got for you, the real question is, do you remember the first record you ever purchased with your own money?
It would have been, no lie, everybody always talks and they always say it's a good record. I'm going to be honest now, it was a Walt Disney Classics album with all the tunes that were from Mary Poppins to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, all of those in one compilation. That was the first thing I ever spent my money on, and I must have been about 5.
Wow. Okay, I got to ask then, how did you get the money that you had when you were 5? Was this like Tooth Fairy money?
It was, can I have some money? 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 Here's the money. Shut up.
Oh my gosh.
That's what it was like back then.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a Christmas time, and we were out shopping, and I happened to see it. And as your kid, it was a red sleeve with all the characters with Donald and Mickey and all that lot on it, and it just had me.
I love it because a lot of guys, when I ask that question, a lot of times what I hear is like sample type records or sample CDs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, there's obviously something before that. They're just not giving it to me, and you just gave me the true record that you first purchased, and I love that. Do you remember?
I'm not gonna lie to you, that was the first record.
And you remember that. I personally, my first tape, and I've never even said this in my past, was a Hootie and the Blowfish. And
there you go.
Yeah, it was. That's honestly, I had my first saved up allowance, if you will, and I went and bought a Hootie tape. But with that, I got to ask you, what was the first concert you ever attended? Do you remember?
African Bambaataa.
Say it again.
African Bambaataa.
Okay. I'm not familiar with African Bambaataa. Am I saying it right?
You remember African Bambaataa, party people. Y'all get funky. That, you know, African.
Yeah, no. As you're singing that, I know that.
That was the first concert I ever saw.
Okay, that's amazing. And how old would you have been then?
I think it was about 15 years old. They were over at Camden Palace. This must have been 1980, early 80s.
Okay. And would you say, then it kind of bleeds into my next question, would you say that what you saw at that event would be a sound system event? Was that part of the sound system culture?
Yes, but the sound system culture was long before that. We, like, from the reggae, we used to go to blueses and people would set up their speakers and their sound system. So we already had that. But for me, being a younger generation of the Windrush lot that came in, my time was more hip-hop. Like the first bits of rap, where, like I'm saying, African Bambaataa, you would have Stetsasonic and all them old Grandmaster Flash. That's where I kind of got into my seeing DJ. Was like, yeah, boy, I want a little piece of that. My man's hands are moving all over the place. I couldn't really break dance. I could break dance, but then I would hurt myself. But yeah, it was more the DJing I wanted to do.
When would you say then, like, because you were there around the sound system era, you were spinning breaks and hardcore long before Jungle was born. So when would you say to you Jungle was born?
Jungle was born about 92, 93.
Okay.
That's when the sound came into the music now. Because as you said before that, I'm there from the beginning when it was acid house and the music didn't even have a beat. It was just noise. And then you saw the transference of like some breakbeat getting into there, and you'd hear like little samples from old tunes that you'd hear your mum play along with the Simps and that lot there. And then we started to bring in more of them tunes, more of the reggae that we heard on a Sunday, some more hip-hop breaks, especially like the Amen. You'd hear that and you think, right, let me speed that up and put that into a tune. And then Jungle started to come about.
Well, and it's amazing to hear you describe it. My question then would be, because we hear a lot of MCs that have a derivative of sound system culture, what came first, the drum and bass MC or the producer putting the reggae style into the song?
See, the MCs have always been about from the reggae. That's where it came from, more or less, because when you used to do a blues, you'd have a man on the mic hosting the room. So he was doing the MC job, and he wouldn't have really two good bars, but he'd have bars to spit out and keep the crowd going. And that transferred over when we brought in the beats and the reggae bass lines and started to mix and mash up the tunes like a pot of gumbo to bring you Jungle.
I like it, a pot of gumbo. Okay, I gotta ask, like a tune that you're known for, like I know you for at least, is the song Hitman. And when I was doing some digging, I saw there was a little controversy around the sampling of that song. Do you mind sharing that with me? Like what happened when you made that tune?
We were all young back in the days there, and nobody knew about the sample clearance and doing too much strong about doing it. You just heard something, you liked it, you put it in a tune, you did it. Nah. We didn't really get in trouble. It was, we got a phone call from Fashion Records, and it was like, can we come down and have a meeting? And it was like, right, here we go. So we split the publishing, and then it was my rights for the tunes. So it worked out in my favour, to be honest with you now. And I've got to bless Chris Lane, a good man and a good friend of mine now for that.
And from what I read, you actually did some side work with Cuddy Ranks to kind of offset.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. And that was cool. That was a blessing there. Do you know what I mean? For me now, being from Sound Systems and knowing Cuddy Ranks, never ever getting a chance to meet him and then doing them things, and there you go. The guy is like, I've remixed loads of his tunes, Beanie Man tunes, and he sends me a DAT with loads of specials on it. I can't be any more thankful.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because yeah, I didn't know until I dug, and I love hearing those kind of controversial stories, if you will. Okay, I got to ask about your production. Like, can you tell me about the hardware, the software that you're using today, and maybe compare it to what you began on, and tell me like the differences from where you were to where you are?
Right. Oh my God. I will tell you this straight now. Every producer now, you are lucky. So lucky. You've got limited amount of power in a computer or a Mac. You've got unlimited hard drive space, like you've got 50 warehouses. Back then, we had an Akai sampler. Depending on how much money you had a 1,000, 950, 1,000, 2,000 or 3,000. You had a Mackie mixing desk, some Mackie monitors, a keyboard, maybe a drum machine and a couple of effects units. That's all you had.
So everything was external. There was no software to help you. You were doing everything hard.
No. The only one piece of software you had was, it depended what you used. We used, it was an Atari 1040 ST computer, which was literally the size of a keyboard now. and it took floppy disks, and you would arrange, that would be where you would arrange the track, just like how you got your arrangement on Cubase and Logic and that now. So it's black and white screen, it crashed every 2 minutes.
It's Atari, man, that's what they do.
Yeah. And it was on floppy disk, so one day the arrangement would be on there, the next day you put the disc in, it would say corrupt disc. So your whole arrangement went. That is what happened with the Hitman. The first mix we done, the disc corrupt, and we couldn't get the arrangement back again.
No.
Yeah, so we had to then start from fresh again, and that is the arrangement which you got now 20-something years later.
That's also why we back everything up 20-something years later.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you've got that, this precise moment, how we are in 2019, everybody should be grateful for what they got, because if you heard if you actually saw what we used back then to make these tunes, you would laugh your head off.
Well, I think, to be honest, it would be almost ready for a museum. I think there's a spot to be had where you could look at guys like yourself and other legends of our scene and see what they began on. It's almost like when you go to, I know over there you're big footballers. Over here we like our hockey. So if we go to the Hockey Hall of Fame and we see Wayne Gretzky's baby skates, and it's like, wow, that's where he began, you know?
Yeah. If I see a floppy disk, that's where we began.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
And I've got a bag, literally a black carrier bag full of floppy disks. And one of the new artists came round to see me, and I'm showing him these disks, and he's gone, how many tunes are on these, Marv? And I've got to, are you messing about, mate? I go, listen, there might be one sample, which might be the kick drum on that disc.
Wow.
And he's gone, well, how many discs to a tune? Shit, mate, it could be about 40, 50 discs to the one tune.
Because it's all your layers. Every layer is a disc.
Yeah, every layer. And every one of them sample discs, which were for the Akai sampler, you had to load back into the Akai, save it, back into the Akai, save it. So now you've got unlimited. You can take 50 tunes and put them on your DAW and make a tune with them.
That's awesome.
So much better. So at the moment now, I am still using Cubase. I'm born with it. I'm going to die with it.
Well, it's a great program.
Cubase.
It's a great program.
Yes, it's a brilliant program. If you know how to use it, you can use it. And I've tried the others, and nothing's got compared to Cubase for me.
So hold on. Have you gone now 100% software? Are you not using any external hardware?
No, this is the funniest thing now. Everybody about late 2000s early 2000s decided to get rid of all the hardware, and it was all internal. So you get rid of all your hardware, you go all internal, and now everybody decides now in 2018, 2017 that you must get hardware again. So it's gone back round in circles. I got rid of all of mine, but all of mine is software based now.
To be honest, myself, I have an opinion on the matter, but I don't produce, so my opinion's a bit ignorant. And what I think when I think production, I think hardware makes a fuller sound. I think that there's more compression, and I find that it's also more generic when you're using the same software that millions of other people have access to.
Yeah.
But it's at the same time, you're an artist. It's like saying that everyone using Microsoft Paint is painting the same pictures. That's ridiculous, right? But yes, I do like when I walk into with some producers, I work with many producers, and when I walk into some of them, they've got the rack of gear, and there's something to be said about the quality of sound that they are producing versus guys that I walk in and they've got 5 screens and they're doing everything, digitally.
This is what I find hard now as well, is the sound. You can hear the difference to the sound. But back in the day, when you got a piece of hardware, you had a book that might be 3 inches thick, and the book didn't make no sense to you. And there was no YouTube
I get you,
or
man.
anything like that you could then look up. You had to follow the man that you knew had that piece of hardware, so he could tell you step by step over the phone how to get this thing to work.
Mm-hmm.
So with the software now, I do quite like it. Is what you see is what it's telling you.
Well, and one thing I want to say is I can go a little bit beyond that because I'm a little too young to remember those days. But what I do remember is pre-Google and pre-YouTube chat rooms. So where you'd go into a room like Reddit, for instance, and you'd post in the forum, anyone know how to run this? And people would come in and help you, you know?
Family, you would have to do smoke signals because Reddit and that weren't even about back then. There was nobody, mate. The internet was dial-up, and you heard all that. And if someone picked up the phone, you'd have to start all over again.
You know what? I remember how annoying it would be trying to call somebody who had the internet because you get that busy tone.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, get off your computer, you idiot! I'm trying to call you.
Yeah. It was nightmare times, but we got away with it. We got away with it. What we done, we've got away with it now. I must say, compared to the production of back then was brilliant. I do think production now is even more brilliant.
It is. It's evolved, and I think we should utilize the tools. I think it's just some people can't necessarily afford all the hardware, and it is much more economical to go digital. And I wouldn't say you shouldn't do it until you can afford the hardware, but I wouldn't also say don't get the hardware. You know?
Yeah. But there's some people who just use digital, and you wouldn't even be able to tell that wasn't analog. The sound, they just know what they're doing, know what plugins to put in, know how to bounce it out. Now they just know everything to do it. So you can't. I'm a man of the future. It's got to change. So I've just got to go where it goes.
I'm with you, man. Well, and you know what? I got to ask you about the label Runninz, because from what I read, it was born from the ashes of IQ. So I've got to ask, what happened with IQ, and what's the status of Runninz?
Right. So now IQ was the original label. That was like the mothership label that started it all off with the Dillinger tunes. We just put out an IQ Classics album last year of all the original stuff that we put out. So there was Dillinger, some Kid J stuff on there, Gunshot, myself, some Sponge tunes, and a couple of remixes from Hype and Andy C. So that started, my partner in that, he kind of couldn't be bothered to carry on with it at the time. Shame, but from that we got Runninz. And then what I did then later on, the past 10 years or so, 15 years, is I put the two together, which is why you've got RIQ Yard Rock, which is the R from Runninz and the IQ from IQ Records, to make a brand new label that put both labels together.
Awesome. Okay, I got to ask you this. You've been around for as many years as you have, and I'm sure you have many memories that you could share with us. Do you have any specific, have you been to Canada? Do you have a memory of coming to Canada that maybe you could share with us?
I think we was in Toronto, and it was for United Dance. So there was Chris Brown, Terry Turbo.
Wow.
Who else there? Slipmat was there. LSD, me, and a couple of others. I can't remember who else was out there, but the party was banging. It was absolutely one of the best parties, and I've got to give you this, the cleanest country I've ever been in my life.
Really? We pride ourselves in our cleanliness.
Listen, never saw any litter. I couldn't believe I never saw no litter. But the mooses everywhere was like, that was the brilliant thing. The mooses.
That was our crazy whack job mayor. He put moose everywhere. He was crazy. That was Mayor Molassman, and he put moose all over the city.
That was brilliant. But my best part of Canada is the shopping malls, and I can't say it anymore. The girls, the ladies, banging.
We do have beautiful women, and we have good teeth. That's one thing we're known for our dental care, right?
Yeah, banging. You got, listen, angels you got out there.
We do have beautiful
Angels.
women. Yes,
That's
yes.
my best thing out there. Yeah.
Well, and I honestly, even when I travel abroad, I look forward to coming home because I agree with you. We have a very clean country, and the people are kind. They're beautiful people all around.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, I love being here. Thank you for sharing that story. I've just got a couple more fun questions for you, and then I'm going to get
Yep.
people to know where they can find you and stuff. But so for this one, are you familiar with what Mount Rushmore is?
Yes.
Okay. So it's those four faces, the American presidents. So if we were
Yeah.
to create a Mount Rushmore for the jungle industry, who would you put as the four faces?
Whoa, that you need to do. I would say you need to change that question completely now, because you can't. If you say jungle, I'm gonna go on jungle now,
Okay.
right? This is this time now, not back there. But if you were to say just,
Hold on, Marv. Here's the
favorite-
thing. I gotta say the question isn't really a serious one in a sense that it's more about this dialogue. I love hearing these kinds of responses. And let's keep in mind also that Mount Rushmore isn't a current. It's not the most recent presidents. It's
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So it's just more of an homage. And even if you wanted to separate it and go, you know what, I do one for producers, I do one for MCs, I do one for the 1990s versus the 2000s. I'm okay for all of that. But
All right, I'm just going to break it down to, right, we're just going to go from the genre. Because
Okay.
jungle and drum and bass are the same thing. Because
Exactly.
drum and bass come from jungle now at the end of the day. So if you would Mount Rushmore, number one face on there has got to be Andy C.
okay, I agree.
Andy C 100%. Now you got me in a pickle. you got me in a serious pickle now. I don't know who else. I know Andy straight up. Nicky Back Market.
Okay, I'll agree with you.
Yep, Nicky Back Market straight now. Then I'm going to draw for an MC. And I'm going to go for Moose.
Awesome.
MC Moose. Now, for the MC. How many's in there? Is it 4 or 5? It's 4 under a minute.
It's amazing. Have you ever? I'm going to sidebar for a second. Have you ever heard of the term the Mandela effect,
Mm-hmm.
where people
You think
misremember?
somebody's dead?
No. This is like people misremembering things. Like for instance, a lot of people think the Monopoly guy has a monocle, and it's because
Yeah.
right. Well, he doesn't. The Monopoly guy never had a monocle. It's what they call the Mandela effect, where people misremember things. And whenever I bring up Mount Rushmore, a lot of people do that. They go, "Isn't it 5?" And I'm like, "No, it's 4, but you can do 5 if you want." But I asked this question to a lot of people, and a lot of people say what you just did. Isn't it 5? And to me, that's a bit of a Mandela effect going on, where you.
Yeah, I don't know, because as soon as you said it, I'm just trying to picture. I'm thinking, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's 5. Is it 4? But nah. Right. I'm going to go for 4. So we've got Andy, Nicky, and MC Moose. Then I'm going to go for Shy Effects.
Nice. Those are a great 4. Those are a great 4, man. And I don't think that anyone is going to be listening to us and is going to call you tomorrow and say, "Why didn't you put me on your Mount Rushmore?" So it's a great answer.
I can't. I've got my reasons for every single one of them. Now, Andy, from a school kid, I've known him, and he done them tunes, and for him to be able to do Wembley Arena on his own, like a band, that's bad.
That is badass.
He's top DJ. I don't care. I've been to America with him, and he's hilarious. We bumped into each other in Amsterdam last year, and he seen me and was like, "Marvin, come and give me a big hug and that lot there," and sent me a nice happy Christmas message. So yeah, that's my reasons for Andy. For Andy there. Nicky Black Market, he is my half brother. That guy there is I don't care about any DJ out there. He's the hardest working DJ in this scene. That geezer's out. Oh, I don't know how he does it. to be honest, and the best gentleman you could ever hear. The guy's given me so much advice, and some of the best advice I could ever have from a mate. That's why he's on there. He's facing with a little curly on them criminal moustache that they twiddle about with. Now, I'm going for Moose as my MC because he's an all-rounder. He hasn't got too many bars, but he knows how to spit when he needs to spit, how to host when he needs to host, and an absolute general for this scene. He gets a full salute from me. And then Shy, bruv, you couldn't get anyone else to help push jungle, the actual jungle side of the music, to where it should be, that he's on Top of the Pops, which is like, and Jules Holland and programs like that. He's representing jungle and keeping it alive. That's my four.
Oh, and I love that you gave that explanation, man. Honestly, MC Moose is somebody I brought up in conversations with other artists because he's someone I do profoundly respect, and I don't believe that people understand the music or the art to appreciate Moose. It's almost like a connoisseur of wine, and you get somebody just chugging the shit, and it's like, dude, you got to appreciate what that man does. And
yes,
do you get what I'm saying? Yeah, you get what I'm saying, Mark?
Yeah, he's like having someone like Method Man or just drop on a track. You know, it don't matter what beat it is, he's on that track. And he's killing it. That's how Moose is. He's the godfather of the MC. I love all of them MCs. There's some wicked ones out there. Harry Shotter, Skibbity, you got that. There's plenty of them. My bridging Belly Man. There's loads of them lot out there that are killing it. But you got to pay homage to the man who was there. He come from the reggae. He took the reggae and brought it into this scene, which is what all of the rest of them are doing.
That's awesome. And you know what? One I gotta ask, because I'm sure you met him years ago. Do you have any memories of Stevie?
Oh my God! Listen. Stevie can't go on Mount Rushmore. Stevie's like the Liberty Tower. You know what I mean? You know, like the what's the thing now when you go into Brooklyn?
The Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, that's Stevie. He's there with that torch shining down on every single one of them MCs out there, and all of us DJs. Anyone who got to play a set with him, you're honoured to do that. Me and Nicky done plenty of sets with Stevie. Honoured to do that. He don't need to be on Mount Rushmore. He's there forever.
Well, no, and I got to correct myself. I said the Eiffel Tower sillily. It's the Statue of Liberty.
That's the one. That's the one.
I didn't want to interrupt you while you were speaking. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, wait, it's not the Eiffel Tower. But no, and I agree with you. To be honest, Marv, I put my four was the famous telepathy set, which was Andy C with Skibba D, Det, and Stevie Hyper D. So that was my four, and I grew up with an MC background, so I'm a little biased in who I put up. But I unfortunately, and I've said this before, I've unfortunately reached every music genre just after the people I like died. So I got into like hip hop and grunge right after Tupac, Biggie, and Kurt Cobain all died. And then I got into jungle drum and bass right after Stevie Hyper died. Right? So it's like every time I've reached a genre of music, the people I've loved most listening to have already been dead.
Well, don't love me then, because I've still got plenty of time to die.
Don't you worry, buddy. It's been many years since that happened.
I hope so.
Okay, last fun one for you is, if you could put 5 items in a vault that would encapsulate the rave culture, what would the 5 items be?
Boy. Dub plates.
Okay.
Floppy disks.
Interesting, and we already gave a preface of why floppy disks matter.
Yeah.
I like that.
An Akai computer.
What kind?
No. An Atari computer, an Atari ST40 computer, and we had these haircuts out here for the rave time, and they kind of looked like a Roman centurion haircut.
Okay, like a Romulan?
Yes, but longer. They were, yeah, exactly like you're saying, like a Romulan haircut, but the sides were longer. That was the rave haircut.
I
If you
know
look
it.
at any of them old videos from back in the day, you'll see everybody having that same haircut. That haircut is what I put in there.
That's awesome. Okay, I think that's 4 items. I love the haircut, man. These are unique items. I love it.
That's what I remember. How many have I got there? Is that
You got
it,
4, I
or
think.
five?
I think we got one more to go. I believe.
One more to go. What would it be? Ribena.
Say it again.
Ribena.
What is a Ribena? I'm sorry.
It's a black currant drink.
Okay.
Right through the 90s when raving was big and people were doing whatever, eating biscuits and whatever they're doing, that was the drink. Everybody had a carton of Ribena.
Okay, those are very unique 5 items, I have to say. Most people go to like the horns or a flyer or a tape. You threw in some very unique items, and I love it. Okay, last question before I let you go, and that is, where can people hear you today? If we want to see you, or do you have any tour dates coming here? If we want to book you, what do we do? Where can we hear you? Please.
Right, if you want to book me, right, first of all, you can catch me on my Facebook page, Marvellous Cain, my fan page. Please go on there like that, as well as go over to the Instagram page and hit me on there. You'll see posts going up on there. If you want to book me to come out and give you a bad man article, jungle or drum and bass set, hit up Tanya from UMC or John at Urban Agency. You can catch me every 2 weeks on originuk.net. That's alongside my partner in crime, the MC Belly Man. That's every 2 weeks on a Thursday, 4 till 6 GMT time. Lock in, we call it jokes and bars. So you'll end up laughing and you'll hear some bars and some good tunes.
Awesome.
That's,
Sorry, go ahead.
that's me. That's me.
That's it. And you know what,
Yeah.
guys? I gotta stress enough that the DMT standard time is very important. Make sure you get the right time zone, because I screw that up all the time myself. But hey, Mr. Marvellous Cain, I want to talk to you a little bit more. So just stay on the phone with me. I'm gonna sign off to the listeners. Okay.
Cool. Wicked.
All right, that was him, Marvellous Cain. As he said, you can check him out at those places. When I post this, there will be links below. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, peace out.